People often say, "That's my real love for you," but real love doesn't arrive as a sentence. It arrives as a sentence. It shows up quietly, without demanding proof, without keeping score. Real love doesn't need to convince you. It doesn't confuse you. It doesn't make you question your worth at 2 a.m. If someone has to keep reminding you that they love you, yet their actions leave you feeling small, anxious, or invisible, then love is not what you're experiencing. You're experiencing attachment, fear, or habit. Today, this is not a speech about romance. This is a reminder that real love feels safe. It feels steady. And most importantly, it doesn't hurt you to stay. People often say, "That's my real love for you," as if love is something that needs defending, explaining, or announcing out loud. But real love has never been loud. It doesn't rush into the room demanding recognition. It doesn't argue its case. It doesn't show up only when it's convenient or when the mood is right. Real love is quiet, steady, and deeply grounded in what it does, not what it claims to be. Real love doesn't need to convince you of its existence because you can feel it without being told. You feel it in the way someone stays when things are uncomfortable. You feel it in how they listen when you're not at your best, when you're tired, overwhelmed, or unsure of yourself. Love isn't a performance meant to impress you in moments of ease. It's a presence that holds you together in moments of strain. When someone says, "That's my real love for you," but their actions create anxiety instead of calm, distance instead of closeness, confusion instead of closeness, confusion instead of clarity, something doesn't align. Love doesn't require you to constantly translate it. It doesn't leave you guessing where you stand. It doesn't disappear and reappear like a warning signal that keeps your nervous system on edge. Consistency is the language of real love. It's not dramatic. It's not flashy. It's repetitive in the most comforting way. It shows up again and again, even when there's nothing to gain. Even when there's nothing to gain. Even when no one is watching. Even when effort is required without applause. Love isn't proven by grand gestures that arrive once in a while. It's proven by small, reliable moments that don't fade with time. Real love doesn't make promises it can't keep. It doesn't paint futures it has no intention of building. It doesn't use words as placeholders for effort. When love is real, words and actions walk in the same direction. There's no emotional whiplash, no sudden shifts that make you question whether yesterday meant anything today. You don't feel like you're too much for real love. You don't feel like you have to shrink your needs or soften your truth just to keep someone close. Love doesn't ask you to abandon yourself to be accepted. It doesn't punish honesty. It doesn't withdraw affection as a form of control. Real love is steady enough to hold disagreement without threatening connection. There's a calm that comes with being loved in a real way. Not excitement that spikes and crashes, but a deep sense of safety that settles into your bones. You can breathe. You can rest. You can exist without constantly proving your value. Love doesn't feel like a test you're always preparing to fail. When someone truly loves you, they don't confuse intensity with intimacy. They don't mistake obsession for devotion. They understand that love isn't about possession. It's about respect. Respect for your time, your boundaries, your individuality, your inner world. Love doesn't try to own you. It walks beside you. Real love doesn't vanish during hard conversations. It doesn't turn silent when accountability is required. It doesn't blame you for expressing hurt. Love doesn't make you afraid to speak it, doesn't train you to stay quiet just to keep the peace. Real love values truth more than comfort because it understands that honesty is what keeps connection alive. You don't have to beg for effort in real love. You don't have to explain why consistency matters. You don't have to teach someone how to care. Love that's real comes with a willingness to show up fully, not halfway, not only when it feels good, not only when it benefits one side more than the other. There's no scoreboard in real love. No tally of sacrifices, no constant reminder of who did more. Love doesn't keep emotional receipts. It gives because it wants to, not because it expects leverage later. It doesn't use kindness as currency. Real love doesn't rush you into emotional dependency. It doesn't isolate you from the rest of your life. It doesn't make you feel guilty for having dreams, friendships, or goals beyond the relationship. Love wants you whole, not smaller. It wants your life fuller, not limited. When love is real, you don't feel like you're walking on eggshells. You're not constantly monitoring your tone, your words, your reactions just to avoid conflict. Love doesn't create fear around being yourself. It creates room for growth, for mistakes, for learning. Some people speak about love as if saying it out loud is the hardest part. But saying it is easy. Staying kind when things are messy is harder. Staying consistent when novelty fades is harder. Staying present when life becomes heavy is harder. That's where real love lives. Real love doesn't disappear when the excitement settles into routine. It understands that passion evolves, that connection deepens with time, that commitment isn't boring, it's intentional. Love doesn't chase constant highs, it builds something stable enough to last. You don't feel replaceable in real love. You don't feel like you're competing for attention. You don't feel like you're competing for attention. You don't feel like affection is conditional on performance. Love doesn't make you earn basic respect. It offers it freely. When someone loves you in a real way, they care about how their actions affect you. They don't dismiss your feelings as overreactions. They don't minimize your pain to protect their ego. Love doesn't avoid responsibility. It leans into it. Real love doesn't leave you feeling alone even when you're together. It doesn't create emotional distance while sharing physical space. Love is present, attentive, engaged. You feel seen, not overlooked. You don't have to chase real love. You don't have to decode it. You don't have to question whether it's fading every time silence appears. Love that's real is clear, not perfect, but honest, not flawless, but sincere. Love doesn't punish vulnerability. It doesn't weaponize your past. It doesn't store your weaknesses to use them later. Real love protects what you share, even during conflict. When someone says, "That's my real love for you," but their behavior repeatedly hurts you, dismisses you, or leaves you feeling uncertain, love isn't the issue. Consistency and accountability as emotional maturity is. Real love doesn't expect you to accept pain as proof. It doesn't romanticize struggle. It doesn't confuse suffering with devotion. Love doesn't ask you to endure harm just to feel chosen. You feel supported in real love, not controlled, encouraged, not limited, heard, not tolerated. Love doesn't compete with your growth. It contributes to it. There's a difference between someone wanting you and someone choosing you. Wanting is impulsive. Choosing is intentional. Real love is a choice made daily, not a feeling used as an excuse. Love doesn't fade when life gets busy. It adapts, it communicates, it makes space. Real love understands that time is one of the most honest currencies we have, and it gives it willingly. When love is real, apologies come with change, not repetition, not empty words. Growth follows regret. Accountability follows awareness. You don't feel emotionally exhausted in real love. You're not constantly recovering from interactions. Love doesn't drain you, it grounds you. Real love doesn't need to be dramatic to be meaningful. It doesn't need chaos to feel alive. It doesn't need conflict to feel passionate. Peace is not boring. Peace is proof. Love doesn't make you doubt yourself. It doesn't blur your sense of reality. It doesn't make you question your worth. Real love reinforces who you are, not erodes it. You don't feel like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're not bracing for disappointment. Love doesn't operate on unpredictability. Real love shows up in the ordinary, in routine, in the way someone remembers what matters to you without being reminded, in how they speak about you when you're not around. When someone truly loves you, they don't just say it when it's easy. They show it when it's inconvenient, when it requires patience, when it requires effort without immediate reward. Love doesn't disappear after conflict. It doesn't withdraw as punishment. It works through discomfort instead of running from it. You don't feel like an option in real love. You don't feel like you're waiting your turn. Love doesn't keep you guessing about priority. Real love doesn't confuse silence with strength. It communicates, it clarifies, it addresses issues before resentment grows. When love is real, you're allowed to change. You're allowed to grow. You're allowed to evolve. Love doesn't trap you in an old version of yourself. You don't have to constantly explain your boundaries. In real love, they're respected the first time, not challenged, not mocked, not ignored. Love doesn't thrive on fear of loss. It thrives on mutual respect. Real love doesn't threaten to leave to gain control. You feel emotionally safe enough to be honest, safe enough to say no, safe enough to rest, safe enough to rest, safe enough to exist without performing. Real love doesn't leave you feeling like you're asking for too much when you ask for basic care. It doesn't make you feel guilty for having needs. When someone loves you for real, they don't just want access to you, they want to understand you. They don't rush intimacy. They don't rush intimacy. They build trust. Love doesn't keep you stuck in cycles of hope and disappointment. It doesn't promise change without action. Real love doesn't disappear when you stop being convenient. It stays when things require effort, patience, and understanding. You don't feel invisible in real love. You don't feel unheard. Love pays attention. Love doesn't ask you to betray yourself. It doesn't ask you to tolerate what hurts you just to keep it alive. Real love doesn't rely on fear to keep you close. It relies on connection. You don't feel like you're constantly proving your worth. Love already sees it. Love doesn't confuse intensity with depth. It doesn't mistake chaos for chemistry. When someone says, "That's my real love for you," real love doesn't leave scars that keep reopening. It doesn't demand endurance as evidence. Real love is calm, present, consistent. It stays aligned between words and actions. It shows up without being asked. It remains steady without needing validation. It exists in the everyday choices that say, without announcing it, without defending it, without explaining it, that you matter. People often confuse love with uncertainty and call it depth. They mistake emotional chaos for passion and label anxiety as connection. But love, when it is real, does not leave your mind exhausted and your heart unsettled. It does not create a constant inner dialogue where you are trying to understand what went wrong, what you said wrong, or why today feels different from yesterday. Love that is real does not make you live inside questions. It answers them quietly through behavior that is steady and clear. Peace is not the absence of feeling. It is the presence of safety. Real love gives you that safety without asking you to earn it every day. You don't wake up wondering if affection will be withdrawn by nightfall. You don't measure your words before speaking out of fear that honesty will push someone away. Love doesn't keep you emotionally alert, like something might go wrong at any moment. It allows your nervous system to rest. When love is genuine, you don't feel confused about where you stand. There is no mixed messaging that keeps you stuck in overthinking. You are not trying to decode silence or analyze tone shifts. You are not replaying conversations in your head, searching for hidden meanings. Love does not speak in riddles. It does not say one thing and mean another. It does not leave space for doubt to grow unchecked. Emotional confusion often comes from inconsistency, from affection that appears and disappears, from closeness that turns into distance without explanation. Love that is real understands the weight of that confusion and avoids creating it. It communicates when things change. It doesn't leave you alone with unanswered questions. It doesn't vanish and expect you to remain loyal to uncertainty. Peaceful love does not rush you into attachment while withholding emotional security. It does not pull you close only to push you away. It does not test how much you will tolerate. Love that is real does not see endurance as proof of devotion. It does not measure loyalty by how much pain you can survive. When love is healthy, it does not trigger your deepest fears. It does not activate abandonment wounds. It does not make you feel disposable. Instead, it reassures without needing to overpromise. You feel chosen without being possessed. You feel valued without being controlled. Confusion often makes people question themselves. It erodes confidence slowly. You start wondering if you are too sensitive, too emotional, too demanding. Real love does not make you doubt your perception of reality. It does not gaslight your emotions. It does not dismiss your concerns as imagination. Love listens, even when the truth is uncomfortable. Peaceful love does not require emotional gymnastics. You are not constantly adjusting yourself to fit someone else's unpredictability. You are not monitoring your reactions to avoid conflict. Love does not require you to stay small so it can feel big. Real love understands that clarity is kindness. It knows that explaining intentions, setting expectations, and being honest prevents harm. Love does not hide behind vagueness. It does not keep options open at the cost of your emotional security. It does not enjoy the power that comes from being unclear. When love is real, conflict does not feel like a threat to the relationship. Disagreements are not followed by emotional withdrawal or punishment. You are not afraid that speaking your truth will cost you connection. Love does not make you choose between honesty and belonging. Peaceful love does not keep you in survival mode. You are not bracing yourself for emotional impact. You are not preparing for disappointment. Love does not feel like waiting for something to go wrong. It feels like stability you can rely on. Emotional confusion drains energy. It pulls attention away from your life, your goals, your sense of self. Real love gives energy back. It supports your growth instead of competing with it. It does not consume your mental space with worry. Love does not thrive in unpredictability. That uncertainty might feel exciting at first, but excitement fueled by anxiety is not connection. Real love does not spike and crash. It flows steadily. It is present even when emotions are calm. Peaceful love allows you to relax into who you are. You do not feel the need to perform. You do not feel like affection is earned through effort or sacrifice. Love does not make you audition for care. Confusion often comes from misaligned values. When someone says they love you but repeatedly act in ways that create doubt, love is not the problem. Alignment is. Real love aligns words with actions. It does not create a gap where trust falls through. When love is real, you feel emotionally held even when you are apart. Distance does not create insecurity. Silence does not feel threatening. Love does not make you fear absence. Peaceful love does not rush intimacy while avoiding commitment. It does not take emotional shortcuts. It builds trust gradually and honors it consistently. Real love does not make you chase reassurance. You are not constantly seeking confirmation that you matter. Love does not make you question your place in someone's life. Confusion often disguises itself as depth, but depth without safety is not intimacy. It is vulnerability without protection. Real love protects what you share. When love protects what you share, when love is genuine, accountability exists. Apologies are followed by change. Patterns do not repeat endlessly. Love learns and adjusts. Peaceful love does not confuse attachment with connection. It does not bind you through fear of loss. It connects you through mutual respect. You are not afraid to need things. In real love, needs are not seen as burdens. They are acknowledged as part of being human. Love does not leave you emotionally lonely while technically together. Presence is more than proximity. Real love is attentive. Confusion often makes you nostalgic for good moments while ignoring harmful patterns. Real love does not rely on memory to survive. It shows up in the present. Peaceful love does not keep you in a constant state of hope and disappointment. It does not promise growth without evidence. Love does not sell potential while delivering pain. When love is real, your intuition feels calm, not alarmed. Your body does not warn you constantly. You do not feel tension where there should be trust. Love does not use uncertainty as leverage. It does not make you afraid to ask questions. It does not punish curiosity. Real love does not require you to sacrifice your emotional well-being for connection. It does not ask you to normalize distress. Peaceful love does not make you feel like an option. You do not compete with distractions, priorities, or indecision. Confusion makes you blame yourself for someone else's inconsistency. Real love takes responsibility. Love does not disappear during difficult phases of life. It adapts, it supports, it stays engaged. Peaceful love allows you to be imperfect without fear of abandonment. Mistakes do not erase worth. Confusion keeps you stuck in loops. Real love moves forward. Love does not thrive on ambiguity. It grows in clarity. When love is real, you are not emotionally exhausted by it. You feel grounded. Peaceful love does not make you shrink your voice. It encourages expression. Confusion makes you tolerate less than you deserve. Real love raises your standards naturally. Love does not require silence to survive conflict. It requires communication. Peaceful love does not make you afraid of the future. It does not feel temporary. Confusion creates emotional addiction. Love creates emotional security. Real love does not leave you questioning whether you were asking for too much when you ask for respect. Peaceful love feels stable even when emotions fluctuate. Confusion keeps you alert. Love lets you rest. Real love does not play games with availability. Peaceful love is not boring, it is safe. Confusion keeps you hooked. Love keeps you whole. Real love does not confuse pain with proof. Peaceful love feels like clarity, settling in, not questions multiplying. Confusion keeps you doubting yourself. Love keeps you grounded in truth. Real love does not create emotional fog. Peaceful love feels like knowing, not guessing. Confusion keeps you waiting. Love keeps you present. Real love does not make you lose yourself trying to understand it. Peaceful love does not require decoding. Confusion drains. Love steadies. Real love does not demand emotional endurance. Peaceful love offers emotional rest. Confusion is loud. Love is calm. Real love does not leave you wondering if today's affection will disappear tomorrow. Peaceful love does not feel fragile. Confusion keeps you anxious. Love keeps you safe. Real love does not feel like walking on unstable ground. Peaceful love feels like standing firmly. Confusion keeps you hoping for change. Love shows change. Real love does not keep you emotionally hungry. Peaceful love nourishes. Confusion keeps you awake. Love lets you sleep. Real love does not make you afraid to be honest. Peaceful love invites truth. Confusion keeps you guessing. Love keeps you certain. Real love does not ask you to live inside doubt. Peaceful love removes it. Confusion is not love. Peace is. There comes a moment when love asks you a difficult question, not out loud, but deep inside. Are you choosing this because it honors you or because you are afraid to walk away? Real love never asks you to disappear to keep it alive. It never requires you to abandon your instincts, your boundaries, or your sense of self. And sometimes the bravest form of love is not holding on, but choosing yourself when staying costs you who you are. Choosing yourself is not rejection. It is recognition that love should add to your life, not slowly take pieces from it. When love is real, it does not demand self-betrayal as proof of loyalty. It does not make you feel selfish for wanting respect, consistency, and emotional safety. Love that asks you to endure harm in silence is not love, no matter how passionately it is declared. Many people stay because leaving feels like failure. They tell themselves that patience is strength, that understanding means tolerating pain, that love is proven by how much you can forgive without change. But forgiveness without accountability becomes permission, and love without self-respect becomes survival, not connection. Choosing yourself often begins quietly. It starts with noticing how often you feel drained instead of supported, how often you explain away behavior that hurts you, how often you minimize your needs to keep the peace. You start to realize that peace you are protecting is one-sided, and the cost is your emotional well-being. Real love does not punish you for choosing yourself, does not withdraw affection when you assert a boundary. It does not label self-respect as selfishness. Love that is healthy understands that two whole people create a stronger bond than two people clinging out of fear. Choosing yourself means listening to the discomfort you've been ignoring, the tightness in your chest when something feels off, the exhaustion that comes from constantly hoping things will improve. Love does not require you to silence your intuition. It does not demand that you override your inner voice to keep someone else comfortable. There is a difference between compromise and self-erasure. Compromise respects both people. Self-erasure only benefits one. Real love never asks you to disappear into someone else's needs. It makes room for both. When you choose yourself, you stop negotiating your worth. You stop explaining why basic care matters. You stop waiting for someone to suddenly become consistent, accountable, or emotionally available. Choosing yourself is recognizing patterns instead of clinging to potential. Love does not grow stronger by enduring neglect. It grows through mutual effort. If effort is always coming from you, what you are maintaining is imbalance, not love. Choosing yourself often means accepting loss, not because you are weak, but because you are honest. Honest about what is missing, honest about what is harming you, honest about what you deserve. There is grief in choosing yourself, grief for what you hoped love would become, grief for the version of someone you believed in. But that grief is cleaner than the slow erosion that happens when you stay where you are unseen. Real love does not make you feel guilty for protecting your emotional health. It does not frame boundaries as ultimatums. It does not make you afraid that asking for respect will cost you connection. Choosing yourself means understanding that love is not proven by suffering. It is proven by care. Love that requires you to stay silent, small, or hurt is not asking for devotion. It is asking for permission to continue. You are not difficult for wanting clarity. You are not demanding for wanting consistency. You are not cold for choosing peace over chaos. Choosing yourself is choosing honesty over illusion. Sometimes love ends not because it wasn't real, but because it wasn't real in the ways that mattered. Love can exist without sustainability, and choosing yourself means acknowledging when something cannot grow without harming you. Real love does not fear your independence, it supports it. It does not need you dependent to feel secure. It does not collapse when you stand firmly in who you are. Choosing yourself is not walking away from love. It is walking toward integrity, toward alignment, toward a life where connection does not come at the cost of your mental health. You do not owe anyone unlimited access to you. Love does not mean unlimited tolerance. Choosing yourself is recognizing that boundaries are not walls, they are filters for what is healthy. When you choose yourself, you stop confusing attachment with love. Attachment fears loss. Love respects choice. Attachment clings. Love allows space. Real love does not make you feel trapped. It does not rely on guilt to keep you close. It does not make you afraid that leaving means you are never enough. Choosing yourself often reveals who is benefiting from your self-sacrifice. Love that is real adapts when you grow. Love that is not resists. You are allowed to leave situations that no longer honor who you are becoming. Growth does not require permission. Love that grows with you will not make you choose between connection and evolution. Choosing yourself means trusting that you do not need to shrink to be loved. It means believing that love does not require you to abandon your standards. There is strength in walking away from what hurts you, even when you still care. Caring does not obligate you to stay. Love without reciprocity becomes a burden. Real love does not require you to stay hopeful while being repeatedly disappointed. It does not ask you to ignore reality to preserve fantasy. Choosing yourself to place Fizz choosing truth over attachment, reality over potential, peace over intensity. You are not giving up when you choose yourself. You are honoring your limits, limits that exist to protect you, not isolate you. Love does not ask you to betray yourself. And the moment you stop betraying yourself, clarity arrives, not loudly, not dramatically, quietly, steadily. Choosing yourself creates space for a different kind of love, one that does not require proving, one that does not require endurance, one that does not ask you to disappear. You are allowed to be the priority in your own life. Love that is real will never compete with that. It will respect it. Choosing yourself is not the absence of love, it is the foundation for it. Real love does not demand your suffering. Choosing yourself is an act of honesty, an act of courage, an act of self respect, and sometimes it is the most loving thing you will ever do. Love often reveals itself, not in the beginning, but in the moments when it is tested, when excitement fades, when words lose their shine, when life becomes ordinary and heavy at the same time. That is where real love either deepens or disappears. And in those moments, you begin to understand that love was never meant to be something you chase, explain, or prove. It was meant to be something that stands with you without being asked. Real love does not arrive as urgency. It does not push, pressure, or rush you into closeness before trust exists. It understands timing. It understands that connection grows best when it is not forced. Love does not confuse speed with certainty. It does not demand immediate emotional access while avoiding long-term responsibility. When love is real, you feel it in the way someone stays consistent when there is nothing to gain, when attention is not rewarded, when affection is not returned instantly. Love does not withdraw because it was no T validated fast enough. It does not punish you for having your own rhythm. Love is not proven in moments of intensity. Intensity is easy. Anyone can feel deeply for a short time. Anyone can say the right things when emotions are high. Real love is proven in restraint, in patience, in the ability to remain kind when emotions settle and reality sets in. Real love does not treat you like a chapter to pass time. It does not keep you around while waiting for something better. It does not make you feel interchangeable. Love that is real makes space for you in the future, not just the present. You can tell when love is real by how safe it feels to be honest, not perfect, honest. You can speak without rehearsing. You can disagree without fearing abandonment. You can express discomfort without being labeled difficult. Love does not collapse when challenged. It listens. Love does not compete with your healing. It does not reopen wounds to keep itself relevant. It does not thrive on unresolved pain. Love that is real wants you whole, not dependent. When love is genuine, you do not feel like you are carrying it alone. You are not the only one initiating, adjusting, explaining, forgiving. Love is not one person constantly trying to hold something together while the other benefits from the effort. Real love does not make excuses for neglect. It does not justify absence. It does not romanticize emotional unavailability. Love shows up, it makes time, it prioritizes presence over promises. Love does not confuse mystery with depth. Emotional distance is not complexity. Silence is not strength. Avoidance is not maturity. Real love is clear because clarity prevents harm. You do not feel like an inconvenience in real love. You do not feel like your needs are interruptions. Love does not sigh at your vulnerability. It does not treat emotional expression as weakness. Love does not rely on nostalgia to survive. It does not ask you to remember how good it once was to excuse how painful it has become. Love exists in the now, in how you are treated today. Real love does not fear accountability. It does not turn defensive when confronted with truth. It does not rewrite history to avoid responsibility. Love owns its impact. You do not feel smaller over time. In real love, you expand. You grow. You become more yourself, not less. Love does not ask you to edit your personality to be tolerated. Real love does not weaponize affection. It does not give warmth and take it away to maintain control. It does not create emotional scarcity to increase attachment. Love is generous, not strategic. Love does not require you to ignore patterns. It does not ask you to focus only on intentions while dismissing outcomes. Love understands that impact matters. When love is real, your nervous system recognizes it before your mind does. You feel calmer, more grounded, less alert. Love does not feel like something you must constantly protect from collapse. Love does not demand constant reassurance. It does not need to be fed with validation to survive. It stands on trust, not insecurity. You do not feel like you are constantly proving your value. Love already sees it. You do not audition for care. You receive it. Real love does not make you question your memory. It does not deny conversations that happened. It does not make you doubt your emotional experience. Love does not distort reality. Love does not disappear during difficult seasons. It adapts, it supports, it remains engaged even when circumstances are heavy. Real love does not make you feel lonely while being chosen. Presence is more than availability. Love is attentive, not distracted. Love does not require you to compete with uncertainty. You are not guessing where you stand. You are not waiting for clarity that never come. Love is not vague. Real love does not confuse desire with devotion. Wanting someone is not the same as committing to them. Love shows commitment through reliability. You do not feel emotionally exhausted in real love. You are not constantly recovering from interactions. Love does not drain you. It stabilizes you. Love does not treat boundaries as threats. It respects them. It understands that boundaries protect connection, not destroy it. Real love does not ask you to tolerate disrespect to keep peace. It does not make you choose between honesty and harmony. Love does not fear your independence. It does not need you smaller to feel secure. Does not collapse when you stand strong. Real love does not require constant explanation. It understands you through attention, not interrogation. You do not feel like you are living in anticipation of disappointment. Love does not keep you bracing for loss. Love does not confuse attachment with connection. Attachment fears absence. Love trusts presence. Real love does not ask you to ignore your intuition. It aligns with it. You are not afraid to ask questions. You are not afraid to need reassurance occasionally. Love does not punish curiosity. Real love does not thrive on emotional highs and lows. It does not need chaos to feel alive. Love does not make you doubt your worth. It reinforces it through care. You do not feel replaceable. You do not feel like an option. Love does not make you compete. Real love does not rush intimacy without building trust. It does not skip foundations. Love does not disappear after conflict. It communicates. It repairs. Real love does not keep you waiting for effort. Effort is present. Love does not rely on fear to stay intact. You do not feel emotionally unsafe. Real love does not make you anxious about the future. Love does not keep you guessing. Real love does not keep you guessing. Real love does not keep you guessing. Threaten to leave, to gain control. You do not feel like you are asking for too much. Real love does not confuse pain with proof. Love does not require endurance. Real love is not loud. It does not announce itself. It does not defend itself. It simply shows up again and again in the ordinary, in the difficult, in the quiet moments where words are unnecessary. Love that is real does not need to be claimed. It is felt, and when it exists, you no longer wonder what love is supposed to feel like. You recognize it by how little it hurts to stay.